Right, hopefully this is recording and you can hear me. I'm doing a video here about having a hemorrhoidectomy. It's about hemorrhoids and my history with bleeding from the back passage, really. And when certainly the past 2 years it's got to the point where I've had to have surgery, and I had to go through a long process to get the surgery. I had the surgery 3 days ago, on Thursday the 11th of April. I'm a bit spaced out because I'm I'm drugged up, and I'm very much recovering. But so this is day 3. I just wanted to post a video about men middle-aged men in my case, or I mean this is aimed at anyone, but especially men. There seems to be a lot of videos on YouTube and things, you know, for females, and certainly after their pregnancy, and if they've needed a hemorrhoidectomy. So this is just my experience and what I would recommend. I live in England. We've got an NHS full of lovely people, hard working people, but it's very broken. I've suffered from mental health issues on and off over the years, very on last year and sort of the year before, so I've been off work too. So what happened last year with me was I started getting bleeding from the back passage regular, and it was after having a number 2, and it was all the time, every day really, and it was always after having a number 2. Now it wasn't particularly painful, but the bleeding was quite there's quite a lot of blood, so it's enough to get concerned about. Now historically, this is 2019 now. Today's April the 14th, 2019. I've had history with hemorrhoids, so I knew what was going on in my early 30s, going way back to 2010. I've got all these notes from years back, and so back in 2010, 2009 I had bleeding from the back passage, but it wasn't really bothering me. But of course, if blood comes out your back passage, they say get it checked out. So all those years ago I had to get a camera inspection up that area, and they found some lumps, you know, and I think they did, they took a sample and there was nothing to worry about. But the blood continued, so we agreed that they would do something at that time called a halo repair, I believe it was, and that was fine, because these veins inside that were bursting, there was nothing painful. When I was going to the toilet, there was no lumps coming out my bum, because hemorrhoids and piles are taken very much as a humorous, laughy thing. You know, you've got lumps in your bum. They're all for the old people. And I lived a reasonably active life. I do a lot of walking. I don't drive, cycle a fair bit. But I have had a lot of office work in the past, and also working as a chef. Nothing really heavy manual labour, lifting, but jobs that where I was sitting down a fair bit. There's no rhyme or reason why I got these anyway. At the end of the day, when I first met the consultant, he said some people get them, some people don't. You do or you don't. If you do get them, he said, and you operate, they can go away and they can come back again. That was sort of the idea he gave me. At that time, the operation, I didn't really have to go out of my way to get it. It was sort of, I had the bleeding over a period of months, and it was sort of, do you want to have the operation? I said, yeah. It's not painful, but if it stops the bleeding, that's great, you know. And for a while it did. Then I had to have another operation, which was banding, where they put little elastic bands. And again, these lumps were inside. They weren't. I was going to the toilet and it was just, there was blood there. There was nothing painful for me at that time at all. So long story short, I had sort of 3 episodes between 2009 and 2012. One where they went inside and did a bit of stitching, I believe. They cut things away using this halo rectal repair, I believe. So again, it's further up inside your colon area, I think. And then for a few years I was fine, absolutely fine, and life was there was certainly no bleeding. Life was life, but so let's go back to just over 2 years back, and the bleeding started again. And back in 2017, I had to leave work. Mental health complications. I had a breakdown. It's complicated, but what continued throughout last year, and last year was a nightmare beyond words, was stress and being off work. So many things I'm unable to sort of control in my head. But this is where I'm getting to the whole point of this video, is the hemorrhoids. And a combination of whatever, I don't know, but the stress plus the hemorrhoids. And every time I was going for a number 2 last year, after I'd have a number 2, there were obvious lumps there that would stay there for a couple of hours, and there'd be a lot of blood. So I had to go back to the doctor and get referred. And that's one of the problems, is the waiting time. And who you see. So in 2017 and 2018 I was referred twice. I saw different people, told different things. The main thing they told me was they didn't want to operate, and it should be looked at by diet control. And I eat reasonably healthily anyway. So all throughout last year it was going on, and I was on a waiting list to be seen again. Now eventually, sort of middle of last year, I got a camera inspection, and I was at the point of sheer madness. I mean, my mental health is not good anyway, and this was just driving me insane, absolutely insane. No sex life, no nothing. It just dehumanized me completely. You know, if you're going to the toilet and then there's blood there all the time, and what I wouldn't class as pain but uncomfortable, you're aware that after you have the number 2 that you know, there's something out there, not huge lumps, not, you know, not big golf ball size things, but that it's there and that it's sensitive. And you know, I knew what it was, and I knew that it wasn't going away. Initially, all those years ago, when I started to get the bleeding, sometimes the blood would just come out, and then I wouldn't have anything for a while. So where am I with this? Confused. 3 days into the operation, after this hemorrhoidectomy, and what I'm trying to get across here is I had to sort of almost force my position and how bad it was with the NHS. This isn't an operation that you want to have unless it's a problem. And what I was trying to explain to them was that it is a problem. And I was getting different answers from different people. one person who inspected me said, we don't think an operation will benefit you. You should control it with your diet and relax more. And relaxing more for me is impossible. It was just on a circle with the hemorrhoids appearing, the mental health problems and the severe anxiety problem I have, and depression, and it was just going round and round and round and round and round, bouncing off each other. So I wasn't able to relax. I wasn't, when I was seeing the blood and it was coming out, that was just making me feel worse. So it was affecting every single minute, every day of my life. And trying to get that across to them seemed to be, I don't know, a difficult thing, and they did not seem to want to operate. Anyway, everything sort of happened very quickly this year. So in March this year I had another camera inspection. What I will say is, if you're going through with this procedure, take notes. I mean, that looks like I've been insane with notes, but that's going back years, the history of it. Because every time I met someone new, they didn't seem to know my history. And it's like going to see the GP and you sit down and say, okay, what's wrong? And you have to explain it all over again. And I was getting mad with this. I was getting, well, why don't you know? I've been waiting months to see you. Why don't you know why I'm here exactly? Why don't you have a historical note of everything that's happened? So that was frustrating me. So I would advise anyone who's going to see them to take notes before you get there. Take photographs of what's coming out after your number 2. The blood that's there. Maybe the blood that's on the tissue. That's what I was taking. It'll give them an idea, because they'll ask you the questions. How is your stools? What's coming out? Is it soft, hard? Is your blood red or black? All these things. So photos helped. In March this year, when I went to see, it's only last month, when I went to see someone, and then he put me forward to another specialist, which happened 2 weeks after. I showed him the photos and he was sort of, oh, he was sort of visibly, he said, it's not like that all the time, he said to me. And I said, well, actually at the moment, yes, it is like that all the time. And I've been on a very strict diet. I've done all the I've been keeping a food diary, all sorts of things. So anyway, this Thursday I had the operation, early morning operation, general anaesthetic. The surgeon and the anaesthetic guy came to see me in the morning. I went to hospital, and I had what they called, or I had a rough idea. They told me a few months ago that I had at least one grade 3 hemorrhoid, in the back passage, that was, after I had a number 2, was coming out, and that was the problem. And that they may be able to band it, but it was unlikely, because it was a grade 3. They have to cut it away and do what's called the hemorrhoidectomy, which is the painful one, the really painful one. So I had surgery, woke up, and the surgeon didn't see me, but I had lots of lovely nurses looking after me till I came around. Given morphine for the pain. The first thing when I woke up, I was aware of the pain. This video isn't trying to scare anyone, because I've watched a couple of videos and they scared me, because they were on about how painful everything is, and it's the most painful thing in the world. And I'm only into day 3, and let me say, yes, it is very painful, but hopefully if they discharge you and do the right things, and this is where I'm getting to, is one of the things I want to advise, is get all the information you can before they discharge you. They discharged me with ibuprofen and paracetamol. I'm allergic to codeine, cocodamol. It really upsets me and it makes me constipated, which is what you don't want to be, constipated when you have problems like this. I asked them in no uncertain ways that I wanted to have some morphine for discharge for the pain, because just in case. I've used it once. I used it last night. And they also gave me some short course of antibiotics to prevent infection, or to help prevent infection. So what I would say to you guys, men, women, anyone out there who, if it's been problematic for a long period, and you've been on a waiting list for a long time, keep notes, because who you see again the next time, whatever specialist it is, it's the NHS is in such a way that you can wait months, you can wait a year, and who you see next may not have all your history. They probably don't. Expect them to know nothing, I think, is the best advice. And that's nothing against the NHS, it's just been my experience. Very tiring, mentally exhausting, and you've already got the problem down below. When you go to see the specialist, they should know exactly what's going on with you. In many cases with me they didn't, and I had to repeat myself over and over, which was frustrating. At the moment I'm going to probably do an update video to this, because this is only day 3. Day 1, one thing they discharged me with was they only gave me 1 pad to wear. Now, the first day I came out, there was a lot of blood. I went to the loo twice, and a lot of blood. I was warned that if I was going to maybe fart, there may be a follow through, and that did happen. So you're going to have certainly pads to wear in your underwear, as there will be bleeding. There is bleeding. I went for my first proper number 2 today. Since I left, all I've eaten really, I had some rice yesterday and some fruit smoothie. I've got an appetite. I'm not wanting to eat, but I'm very aware that I want to eat very soft things, and they told me that, and I'm aware of that because I've had problems with the bleeding anyway. You know, what I've been eating is things that I can digest quite well, healthy stuff. They say high fiber, etc., etc., and that's probably the way to go. I'm certainly going to avoid things with anything with bits in it, you know, because I don't want any food to be caught as it goes through. You want it to be smooth as possible. They also gave me a liquid laxative to soften the stools. The powdered stuff for me personally doesn't work. So they gave me a liquid thing which seems to work. Or certainly I went for a number 2 earlier, and that passed through quite well. Very painful, but nothing you guys can't cope with. So I'll do a follow-up video, but if you're someone like me in your 30s, I'm 42 now, and I probably, the past 2 years I probably aged 20 years, so I probably look 50 today. I'm 42, and I found last year getting the hemorrhoids was, along with mental health issues, was unbearable. I'm on benefit at the moment, and the benefit people last year expected me to be at a stage to be back to work, and it was just not a chance. I'm not a lazy person, but when you combat severe mental health issues with a physical one such as this that just drags you down to the pits of hell, not just the thought of working, but the thought of just, I mean, I've really, certainly last year, this year, life has been horrible, and I've been isolating a lot. I had to stop cycling because of it, and enjoyed cycling. I've tried to keep walking as much as possible. I don't drive, but yeah, I'll do a follow-up to this. This is just part 1. Okay, best wishes.